And it looks like we're live. Greetings and salutations, I'm Umthoth Neverborn, the abyss that slumbers, and you are listening to Eldritch Rants, our top story. Can you use peanut butter to prevent cancer from taking control of your mind and using your body to murder your loved ones? And of course, by cancer, I speak of the giant space crab that is one of the 12 zodiac signs. The answers to this question and many more will be answered by our panel of experts, including Chief, who has been best described as a comfortable rash. In other words, no matter how much you scratch him, he will not bleed. And of course, the illustrious Mr. Gurr, who is the only man known to sexually transmit being Irish. And of course, I am the Eldritch God, and here we are to discuss about these many topics. However, let's start with something a bit more mundane and local, specifically how YouTube is screwing everything up and trying to drive themselves into the ground like a railroad spike. Seriously, what the hell have they been thinking about? Hello, Mr. Bexper, how's it going? Any rate, I believe, Chief, you wanted to rant a bit about this first.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It seems like in every single genre on YouTube, they're being targeted. Simply, when YouTube was first created, it was their slogan was "broadcast yourself." They honestly didn't care, right? You just free speech, just share your opinions. But it seemed like ever since the whole PewDiePie fiasco, and I don't blame that on PewDiePie, it seemed like it pushed it over. That was a turning point when it came to YouTube and allowing stuff to go by. YouTube always had, well, the policies on what you can post, but they never really did anything with that. YouTube channels such as Rob Dyke that did all the stuff about true murders and killings, that was never really allowed. But because they allowed it for such a long time, now that they're not, well, we have all these channels that are making money by doing this, that are getting hit. Even channels that I think are completely fine and are just, well, adding commentary to things, such as reviewers. Reviewers are getting hit. What else? People who do, any the kind of true killings, kind of stuff like that. People talking about politics are getting hit in world events. So you have these channels where people just speak their minds and share their opinions on things are getting censored and their channels getting taken down. Even the little bit of crudeness isn't even allowed by YouTube standards anymore. It's not advertiser/family friendly.
I kind of think they're going the same way as MTV, who, by the way, recently had record lows in their MTV Music Awards. And, I'm sorry, I gotta idle a bit. Please babble.
So what do you think, Mr. Gurr?
Yeah, I've seen like a lot of channels being hit, and yeah, it seems to have got narrower and narrower of what you can talk about and what you can address. Like anything from the local news to just what normal skeptic channels talk about every day. I'm just wondering how, what we're gonna be able to talk about in about a year's time.
Yeah, honestly, I think even a little bit of crude comedy, anything like that, won't really be allowed on YouTube. So there goes all your real comedians.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure I will get hit or something like that because, like I was saying, I don't monetize my videos, but I'm pretty sure your videos can still get flagged and taken down. Same thing with your channel, even if you don't monetize.
Yeah. Well, at the moment, mine is monetized. And all of my videos, apart from the ones that have got copyrighted music on or anything, like the only ones that I've got unmonetized, the ones that I've had the copyright thing on. That was just the
Terribly
CNN.
sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
The CNN Negan thing that I did, which was basically about the CNN Trump wrestling fiasco.
Oh yeah,
So I
that.
did a meme on that, and that got copyrighted. Not a copyright strike, but just said you can't monetize this. But all my other videos, yeah, they're all fine for now.
Yeah,
I think
for
I'm pretty
now,
much
it
under
seems
the
like once
radar for
again,
now.
even a little bit into the spotlight, and you're saying something that isn't fit YouTube standards, you're gonna get a hit, and like you're saying, it's only gonna get worse in
Yeah.
a year or so time.
I'm liking
And
BitChute.
yeah,
They need to polish up a bit, but I'm liking them. VidMe, they need to polish up seriously. But I have a feeling one of those two places is going to be where the after party is. Mine's looked okay, but to be honest, they're more of a Facebook than really a video sharing location, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, all of this is. See, YouTube is deciding to go the same way as MTV. And MTV used to be edgy. They used to be, people breaking their legs and, Beavis and Butthead, which, rude and crude, but people liked it. It was the lowest common denominator, but they liked it. They liked the fact that you could say whatever you wanted on MTV. And now it's totally censored for your protection. And the fact of the matter is that they follow these false narratives that don't work. Like, we'll discuss it later, but Antifa was declared a domestic terrorist organization back in 2016 and nobody knew.
Wow.
Yeah, that just came out. I don't know if you guys, well, actually, let's skip to it.
Which one is it? Yes,
Yeah.
Department of Homeland Security. Yeah.
Yeah, they were declared back in 2016 that Antifa was a dangerous and domestic terrorist violence. They've been watched for a while now, and the media has been totally hyping them up, trying to apologize for them at every turn. But just recently they were like, oh yeah, I guess there weren't any Nazis in Boston. But there's definitely Nazis in there's no Nazis in Berkeley either. There's like 15 people, and there's like 500 Antifa beating the crap out of some little old lady and random people walking down the street. These rare extremists are causing trouble. No, they're not rare extremists. They've been doing this for frickin' ever. But you can only make excuses so long. They back themselves into a corner. And the fact that the government's recognized them as a terrorist organization since April of last year, that says it all.
But it's the mainstream media that's kicked up all the hype in the first place regarding all these so-called white nationalists and KKK or whatever. Because I remember watching a video probably about a year and a half ago, and there was a small KKK rally, and there was probably about 10, 15 people there holding signs, nothing racist, just support your local KKK. A bit of the usual stupid white nationalists, we want an ethno-state crap. And it showed two of them getting the shit knocked out of them by just people there that disagreed with them. Again, I'm not saying that the violence is warranted, because they were just there peacefully protesting or whatever, having the stupid rally. 15 people, and they still get beat up. A year on, and thousands of people turn up to protest against them. Nothing's really changed on the right side. It's just the fear that's grown.
Well, yeah, and it makes sales, but I'm not sure if the media has really learned its lesson yet. That's the problem. I want to think they have, but I think that they're just now backpedaling slightly here. But there's evidence that it's finally coming around. There's universities actually saying, no, we are not going to take down art just because you don't approve of who's in the picture. And what is it, Evergreen? My God, they're down $2.1 million for this year's budget. I mean, unfortunately, the people who are going to pay are not going to be the professors who caused all this nonsense. Professors are going to be blameless. They're not going to have anything happen to them. And it's going to be rank and file schmucks who work at the place who are going to lose their jobs. But, you know, at least it's a start in the right way.
I'd like to make a comment on on the KKK. Not anything recently, but this happened around 3 years ago. I was reading this old article from 2014. It was about this guy, right, who was a jazz musician, or a musician in general, and a black man, and he would attend all these KKK rallies and everything like that. He talked to them, and he's like, okay, so how are we going to make America better? And they said, we are going to make the white man powerful again, this and that. And it's really interesting because he actually he didn't get mad at them or anything. He just kind of hung around them. And a lot of those KKK members were actually some of his best friends. And then throughout time, unknowingly, they started to convert back to, not be a KKK member. They're just a normal person from just hanging out with this black guy. And he converted hundreds of people just by attending these KKK rallies and being nice to everyone. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, no.
Think about that.
Most people, everybody has prejudice, but not everybody's racist. Okay, and everybody has prejudice because it's a survival mechanism. If somebody starts to gesture like they're going to throw something in your face, you flinch. That's prejudice. People don't realize you're prejudging that he's going to throw something in your face. And so you have these inborn reactions where you go, somebody's going to punch me. Flinching is good. It's a survival mechanism. Acting before you can think is a survival mechanism. But after those first few seconds, you can think again, and you can realize, oh, he's just messing with me. Well, unfortunately, the same mechanism bleeds over into how you treat people you've never met. You listen to people's stories, you form theories about them, and then you react based on those theories because, well, you might get killed if you don't. But when you start getting actual real-life examples, if you're a reasonable person, you start going, oh, wow, this doesn't match what I believe, and it changes. A racist is not the person who's prejudiced. Okay? Racism is the excuse. The racist uses other people's prejudice to control them. Because this whole prejudice plus power equals racism is bullshit, because nobody wants to make racism. Not even racists want to be racist. Okay? You talk to a racist, are you racist? Most of them go, no, I'm not, even if they are acting it. No, it's not racism. They want power. They want control, either over their own life or over other people's. So they use racism to manipulate prejudice to create power. You know?
That whole theory of prejudice versus power or plus power is complete bollocks, though, because it's a double-edged sword. Because saying that someone has power because that's so they can't be racist or whatever, then that makes the other person racist anyway, because they do have the power, because they can say certain things.
Well, you just got to reverse the equation when they say it. You go, okay, so if I take racism and I remove prejudice from it, I have institutional power? Is that how I get more power? I remove prejudice from racism? That doesn't make sense. When you add prejudice to racism is when you can control people and get power. You know, the math just doesn't work when you do it the other way around. It sounds great to them, but it's wrong. You know, just say, okay, reverse the equation. How do I get power from racism? Do I get it by removing prejudice, by making people less prejudiced? No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. But that's all this Marxist bullshit. It's all backwards. It all sounds good if you're not thinking about it, and then if you actually talk to somebody else who doesn't think like you do, like, you know, KKK member talks to this black guy, they stop going, oh, well, maybe all black people are bad. No, they're not. Just like not all social justice warriors are bad. It's the ones who all prejudge and aren't willing to listen to new information that's the problem. Those are the real racists. People are prejudiced and deliberately do not choose to accept new information.
Yeah.
You know, all men are scum. Oh, wait, maybe this one guy isn't. Okay, well,
All men are trying to show off their masculinity, and even when they're not, even when they're trying to be kind and they're a general nice person, they're still trying to show off their masculinity. Also, before we go to the next topic, I want to read this article because the original article was from a couple years ago, but this person made a new one. Here, I'll read it. In the light of the horrific riots that took place in Charlottesville, Virginia on April 12, 2017, the following story seems particularly important. One African American man named Daryl Davis may have the answer, and it's a hell of a lot easier than you would think. A self-described musician, actor, author, and lecturer, 58-year-old Daryl has been converting Ku Klux Klan members for over 30 years. His method has recently been featured in a documentary, Accidental Courtesy, Daryl Davis, Race in America. As surprising as it may be, Daryl has managed to convert countless Klan members simply by being their friend. Although it may seem obvious, with so much anger bubbling within the trenches of daily American life these days, sometimes it can be hard to remember the effectiveness of a kind act or subtle gesture. Daryl meets the KKK members and other white supremacists attending their rallies, going to their homes, and simply getting to know them. He explains, it's a wonderful thing when you see a light bulb pop on in their heads, or they call you and tell you they are quitting. I never set out to convert anyone in the Klan. I just set out to get an answer to my question. How can you hate me when you don't even know me? Look at me and tell me to my face why you should lynch me. As a result of Daryl's kindness and friendship, many supremacists have been inspired to abandon their beliefs. He has even collected a stash of KKK memorabilia from the members he has converted. When he is asked why he doesn't do something with the items, such as burn them, Daryl explains, as shameful as it is, you don't burn our history, regardless of the good, the bad, the ugly. When it comes to the KKK in the United States, he explains, the Klan is as American as baseball, apple pie, and Chevrolet. So yeah, I'm gonna end it there. It keeps on going on, but yeah, that also that's a lot with what's going on with the statues, right? People trying to tear those statues down, those Confederate statues.
well, it's all Marxist BS. You have to erase the past in order to control the present.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the thing is, the people that are attending those rallies aren't even black people. I doubt your average black man cares that there's a Confederate statue there. Also, it's not like the North didn't also have slaves after everything went down. Some of the North kept their slaves. And whatever was going on, I'm Canadian, right? So I got some of the facts wrong. It wasn't exactly about slavery. That was the war cry. It's more about money than anything.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, in the end, it was all about control, whether or not states had the right to quit if they wanted to. But something I always like to put out to people, there was a time long ago when there was never any slavery on earth. You know what they had instead? They had murder. Murder was the solution. You fought somebody and you took no prisoners. You killed everyone. Then they came up with the moral innovation. Enslave your enemy instead of killing them. Now, I don't know about you. I'd rather be a slave and alive than dead. Just personal, because if I'm alive, I've got a chance. If I'm dead, I don't. Now, you might be saying, well, slavery's bad, yes, but compared to murder, it was good. You know, it was a step up, and that's how morality works. Over time, it gets better. So whenever you look into the past, you go, oh my God, we were savages. Yeah, you're right. Everybody was a savage a long time ago. Learn from it and don't be a savage anymore. It's like, you know, technology advances. We've got computers now when we used to only have, like, you know, mechanical calculators that were powered by pulling a huge lever. Things have advanced. You shouldn't hold old accountants from the 1940s to task because they didn't have a high-speed computer today. Same thing with morality. You know, I'm sorry, but you have to do it within the context of the time period. But there's none of that. You know, everything's evil. And how long until you're like pulling down Thomas Jefferson and you're pulling down Abraham Lincoln and you're pulling down, George Washington? I actually saw an article where somebody was claiming that we need to blow up, you know, what is that Washington, that monument where they got all the presidents on the side of a mountain?
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore, yeah. Somebody was saying we need to destroy this.
Oh, that was on Salon.
I mean, it's like, what are you, nuts? Even if that's clickbait, are you nuts? But no, they're not nuts. They actually believe this. This is their philosophy and their belief. And in the end, if you're going to create their perfect world, the old one has to be destroyed. The problem is you need to explain to them, by the way, in another year, the present will have to be destroyed as well. And a year after that, that present will have to be destroyed. So if you think you have any future, you don't. You will need to be washed away along with everybody else. Ironically, if you actually look over like communist takeover of countries and their philosophy, all these idiots who are trying to help the Marxists, they're the first ones on the chopping block. Oddly enough, it's the people who resist, but then eventually are defeated. They're like, if I can just win you over to our way of thinking, you're trustworthy. These fly-by-night idiots who will go any way the wind blows, we got to get rid of them before they do a revolution against us. That's what happened in China. You know?
It'll be interesting to see how the internet looks in 50 years. Because how much information will there be on certain histories that have been changed or whatever?
Everything, you're looking at the end of the current moral panic. I believe this one wholeheartedly because I've seen the demographics in America. In 2018, the Democrats are getting their ass handed to them. And that isn't just, Donald Trump is awesome. It's because the numbers are against them. I believe the Republicans are defending 8 seats, and the Democrats are like 20 or 30 or something. And when you look at the actual districts, the numbers are really bad. So you're going to see a pasting in 2018, and I think that's going to finally break the liberals. Because the few people who I have talked to, they all keep going, oh, yeah, but in 2018, we're taking it at Congress. No, you're not. You're not. In fact, it's going to be even worse. It's kind of why I think Donald Trump keeps doing the crap that he does, where he gets almost close to getting what he wants, but then he gets defeated by like 1 or 2 votes. And I keep going, why do you keep doing this? And I think he's just setting things up for 2018. Because I think he's going to be cleaning house. He never joined the Republican Party. He performed a hostile takeover. And I think 2018 is going to be his huge house cleaning, where he's going to get rid of anybody who's been stupid enough to keep opposing him, who thinks, oh, Donald Trump, he's going to go away. No, he's going to get rid of you. He's been planning it for like 2 years. He's going to be planning for it right up until the 2018 midterm elections. But anyway, let's move on to, I don't have an article up for it, but I believe you wanted to talk about flat earth people.
Wait, before that, a comment came to me, and I'd like to know your opinion on this. I was watching Philip DeFranco, the man who doesn't have, the unbiased man himself, Philip DeFranco. Yeah. And I didn't even watch the video. I just went down to the comments. There's always some weird person commenting. And this person was talking about, hey, leave those Native Americans alone. It was their land to begin with. Stop messing with them, or something like that. I think it has something to do with, doing something on native land. What do you think about that whole argument where they say it was their land first and we took it from them?
Well,
so we should.
Here's the problem: leave them alone. The Indians were killing each other long before we got here. So, which group of Indians are we returning it to? Because they took it from each other repeatedly.
Every piece of land has been owned by someone else before an invasion.
Oh, dude! Oh, yeah. And I was reading through the comments, and someone said the exact same thing. But then that person got fucking bombarded. So someone responded and said, hey, well, that was their business, right? That they're taking each other's land.
No. Said, we did it better. That's the only difference between them and us is we do it better. That's what conquering nations do. We come in, we kick your ass, we take your land, and you get killed.
Yeah, the British, the French, and the Dutch basically had guns.
Well, actually, I want to say this about the British. The British were amazing conquerors. The British were better than everybody else because if you look at populations, When the British invaded a country and took it over, the locals increased in population. The British Empire was the most progressive empire ever. They conquered somebody and then they helped them. As opposed to like the Muslims. Look at Carthage. I believe the phrase burn to the ground and salt to the earth started there. Okay, everywhere the Muslims invaded, the locals died. Okay, it was a 300-year invasion before the Crusades where suddenly Christianity said, enough is enough. Let's show you what a bunch of crazy white dudes can do. And
because they take everyone as slaves and castrate them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Janissaries, that whole thing. I mean, if you want to go back and say, let's look at who's evil, I'm sorry, but the white people have a much better track record than everybody else. I'm not, but here's the thing. I don't claim anything to any of that, especially since I'm Polish. We got our asses kicked over Eastern Europe for 1,000 years because we couldn't come up with the concept of borders. But besides that, you know, as a rule, yeah, I mean, the British Empire was pretty progressive. So, tops to you, Mr. Gurr. So, but...
Well, I'm not going to take any credit because just as I won't take credit for slavery either.
Gotcha. But, no, yeah, that's my opinion on the matter is that everybody at some point did something evil. And you got to deal with the people who are here. And, you know, I'm sorry if it's not fair, but it's not fair. Life never was fair. And if you try to make life fair, you'll drive yourself insane.
I think they're better off actually now than they were back then. It's
probably
because, yeah, honestly, we don't even know how bad it would have been if someone else conquered them, right? We think what we did was bad. Up here in Canada, well, what we did was pretty bad, but it could have been worse.
They're technically still alive.
Yeah, so exactly.
We could have just wiped them out entirely, you know.
But it makes me wonder how many pure, quote unquote, pure blood British people there are anymore since we got invaded by the French, the Romans, the Saxons, the Vikings. So even then,
not many. Probably not many.
A phenotype doesn't matter to me. Culture matters to me because. The whole menome concept, where is a culture can only survive in a certain environment.
Meme culture. Where does it survive the internet?
Well, no, I mean, the internet has certain cultures, other locations. A culture of the Eskimos will not survive in, you know, the Sahara.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but if you try to take various cultures out of their environment and stick them with other cultures, you're going to have conflict. And every culture, when it's under attack, becomes more conservative, contracts, starts to purge its own undesirables, and becomes less flexible. You know, the desire for multiculturalism will never work. It will only create monoculturalism. In the end, that's all you can do. The only way to have multiculturalism is to have cultures separated and in their own environments where they're allowed to flourish and have their own wacky ideas and mutate and do everything. But if you keep sticking people together against their will, it's going to end poorly. But, I mean, Europe's already committed suicide. There's nothing around it. I don't know. I don't have the article up in front of me, but I don't know if you guys read. Basically, without talking to anybody, France, Germany, Spain, and somebody else got together and said, yeah, we're pretty much going to let the top 4 countries of Africa just come in whenever they want.
Oh.
Yeah, they're going to allow so many millions of people in, but they're saying we're stopping. They're publicly telling the newspapers we're going to stop the flow. But the actual truth is anybody who's in danger. How do you define in danger? Like, I just stubbed my toe. Am I in danger? Seriously?
If they were anything like Canada, they're going to be letting people in and have all these different diseases and stuff that's going to fuck up the medical system.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be horrible.
If they're anything like Canada.
It's going to be horrible. You're letting in people. I believe one of the countries actually had an outbreak of Ebola about, 4 or 5 years ago, as I recall. And I'm like, dude, you're letting in people from a country that had Ebola if they're in danger. Are you freaking insane? Are you insane?
It's the same thing with let's say going to like the moon or Mars, colonizing those places. Let's fix what's going on here. and then let's go somewhere else and fuck that place up, right? So let's fix what's going on in those countries in Africa, and then we can let some people that are still kind of in danger, and then we can bring them over. But not the opposite, because then you're just fucking up your place, and you're fucking up that place, and everyone's fucked.
Well, it's about power. I mean, at this point, you can't be. You've got to be cynical and just say, why are they letting in all these uneducated idiots in? Well, because the uneducated idiots are going to vote for public welfare because they've got nothing, which means that they're going to vote for Democrats or left-leaning liberals or whoever. And the problem is that unfortunately, cultures, when they're under attack, as I said, contract. They start to shed diversity. And they start to focus on their core values, which means their own internal diversity decreases, and then they become more nationalistic or fascist or whatever in order to defend themselves. And whether the Muslims like it or not, they're still outnumbered. I mean, there's no nation that has more than 10% at this point. And then, like, in 50 years, they'll be like, unfortunately, it's never going to reach there. It's never going to reach, complete parity within like 30 or 40 years, because if it's this bad now, imagine when the population's up to 20%. You think that these right-wing nut jobs are a problem now? Wait until like they go, man, this is really bad. Suddenly that guy who's been goose-stepping around makes a lot more sense. What was that solution you had? You say you have a final solution. Let's hear what your last solution is. And that's all it's going to take. And people think it can't happen. But trust me, it's real easy to slide into allowing fascism to take control. I mean, we're kind of doing it here in America. You've got the left-wing fascists edging on the right-wing fascists. There's no moderates anymore here. Nobody. Everybody's, got to pick a side. No, I've got my side. It's the same side I've always been on, America's side. Why aren't you on it? But anyway.
So, now we should get on to the flat earthers. So, a little bit of backstory. When doing research for that script of mine, why the moon landing wasn't faked, I came across a lot of comments and different things like that, talking about why we didn't go to the moon, which some of them had to do a lot about flat Earth. And I started to pick up more and more on why. So it seems like they have the mindset where government is bad and government is out to get you. And anything to go with the government is bad because government is bad. Why is the Earth flat? Because the government told you that it's not. Why is the Earth flat? Because the math that they give you to prove that the Earth is round was paid by government scientists, government mathematicians. If they're paid by the government, they're bad. Same thing with the moon landings. Oh, you can't trust NASA. They're paid by the government. Where's that money going? To the Illuminati. Oh, man. They think some of them think there's a giant dome around the flat Earth. Some of them think that there's a wall in Antarctica, and that's why they don't let us go there. And that's why no one ever flies over Antarctica. Different things like that. And, man, I think you lose IQ points just listening to these people. And I'm going to bring up this little screenshot that I have that I went and I took. And I think this YouTube comment is the best YouTube comment I've ever seen when it comes to flat earthers. Give me 1 second here. You guys can say your response while I bring this up, this YouTube comment.
The one thing that always bothered me about flat Earth is I go, okay, is the flat Earth round on the edge like a penny, or is it square or rhomboid?
It's like a disc.
Okay, if it's a disc, why is it only round in 2 dimensions and not round in 3? Like, why is the moon round? And before you tell me, oh, we only see one side, we're watching the disc flat on, that doesn't explain the way the shadow's on. So if it is,
Oh no, like so I've seen comments
The moon
saying
is a
that
lot
that's one of
smaller.
the biggest proofs to why the Earth is flat because of the kind of stages of the moon, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and the moon is a
crazy.
lot smaller and closer to us. And
yeah,
things
and the
like that.
sun is this little globe that just kind of only shines straight down, and it circles the the Earth, like, not, it doesn't go down underneath. It just kind of rotates. Like, and I'm sitting there
There,
going, do you
there was
understand physics?
Hmm.
Things that go straight until something makes it curve, and gravity doesn't even curve objects, it curves the space it's going through. So every planet is going straight, and the space itself is bent. So from the planet's point of view, it's going straight. You know, light thinks it's going straight when it passes through gravity well. Gravity is bending space. It isn't pulling on anything.
there
So
was one guy who was talking about all the pictures right from those satellites, from those government paid satellites, CGI, all of Earth. Yeah, that's CGI. There is this. He was taking. This guy took all these pictures these full pictures of Earth years apart, one from 1990, whatever, all the way up to 2017, and he put in a giant collage, right? Put them all together, and you could see each one individually, and it had, well, the timestamp on the date it was taken. Like, why do these look so different? Well, because they're obviously going to change the brightness, the contrast, right? Of course, and camera technology evolves all the time.
Yeah. From
yeah,
what
So,
the
was it,
first
1990?
satellites were actual film that were thrown into the space. It orbited Earth, taking pictures, going click, 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 and then it came back to Earth, deployed and a parachute, and we recovered it. Okay, there was none of this beaming pictures to and from space. The original satellites that spied were satellites that orbited over Russia, taking pictures until it ran out of film and then it crashed. And you're telling me that those pictures don't match up with the pictures today made with high speed, billion pixel, cameras that can read newspapers from orbit. And by the way, I've seen that picture. It was disturbing that a satellite can indeed, on a clear day, read the newspaper over your shoulder. That's the stuff the CIA has. That's incredible.
here, I'm pretty sure this comment just sums up everything from our point of view. Build yourself a goddamn scale model styrofoam solar system and have a good look around it, you fucking idiot. Learn about the world around you. Learn about lens static effects, visual perspective, the scale of stellar bodies, altitude physics, anything. Learn about some anythings before making ridiculous assumptions guided by their zany, hidden knowledge having, whack ass know nothings. You think you're so clever and inquisitive? You seek the answers to things nobody dare questions. Why do your theories and critiques sound so precisely similar to a large body of other people's? Fuck you. There's not a damn original thought in your uncritical brain. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
pretty
pretty much
accurate.
it.
Favorite YouTube comment. Favorite YouTube comment. Right there.
We should get that on a t-shirt.
Yes.
The guy that was on the Stefan Molyneux video talking about it, he had some amazing like theories. Gravity. Gravity does not exist. The only reason why we stay on the ground is through some sort of electromagnet.
Well, actually, as a side note, I mean, gravity obviously exists, but I'm not sure if the theory of gravitons exists. I've seen some alternate theories that does not require gravitons because gravity doesn't fit with the other electromagnetic forces. They've managed to unify all the other electronic forces and get one set of equations that explain the strong nuclear, the weak nuclear, electromagnetism. They can explain all of that with one equation, but gravity throws everything else for a loop. So, but it's because of that these flat earthers can go, well, it throws everything for a loop. But it's like, it simply may be how space works. I've seen a theory where basically space itself is actually made up of tiny little, for lack of a better word, pixels. And when matter occupies it, it never occupies it perfectly, so it tends to line up in one direction over another. Kind of like how naturally the electrons in metal tend to line up in the same direction. But, and, I mean, and the thing is, though, is I think the theory was actually crushed because their version said there are no gravity waves, and they may have detected them with LIGO. I'm not sure. Last I heard, they did detect gravity waves, but I think the jury's still out on that. But if there's gravity waves, that theory doesn't work. But if there are no gravity waves, their theory of, space is basically, I mean, you get small enough, it's basically a series of Planck-sized little tetrahedrons. And I thought it was pretty incredible.
Yeah, unless you go into, what's it, quantum mechanics, then it's not really how small you go.
Oh, yeah, there's a limit to how small you can go. Well, what's the shortest distance you can move, which is pretty crazy. Like, you can go the minimum distance in one direction, turn around, and come back at an angle, so you're still you've traveled less from point A to point C. But if you're making, there's a minimum distance you can move because of how the minimum wavelength is before you create a black hole by having too much energy. It's pretty crazy.
I was watching a podcast guy explaining dark matter. I don't know if you guys ever watched the Joe Rogan show, but he has a lot of cool people on there. He had Neil deGrasse Tyson on there 2 times, and he had this guy. Never heard of him, but he's in that field. So he's talking about dark matter. He's talking about quantum mechanics, and it was very interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of wiggle room there, but just because you can say, hey, look, there's some doubt about what gravity actually is, does not mean you can say there is no gravity. Although I don't know if
do you know what's funny? When it comes to flat earthers, they like to point to this one experiment done in the past that they say prove that the earth is flat. The thing is, that experiment has never been redone. Well, it has been redone, but they never gotten the same result. Thus, the experiment is flawed, and that means that the Earth is not flat. And I think they can't get that through the thick skulls. If you cannot redo what that experiment did in the first place, that was meant to prove your theory, then your theory is wrong.
Was that experiment done a few hundred years ago or something?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I don't know why there's this belief that appeals to the ancient past have authority. Like when we were doing the videos on, Mr. Gurr roped me into helping him with these crazy black supremacists, where white people come from videos. And there's always this appeal to ancient knowledge. Like, you're sitting there and going, dude, did it ever occur to you that maybe in 2,500 years we might have found out a few things? Just saying. Just saying.
Based on a book someone wrote 400 years ago. One person's account about how some guy knocked up some half snake woman.
I love that. Okay, yeah. So Hercules knocked up a Naga, and that's where white people come from. Okay, pal. Interesting theory you have there, sir.
Silly white people.
Silly white people being descended from vampire Naga space snake ladies, and how our children drink blood and black people don't hug. Because hugging proves that they're evolved. I don't know.
Apparently white babies slip their mothers the tongue.
Oh yeah, I love that. It's like, why are children tongue kissing mom? What? Citation needed. Citation really needed. Citation fucking needed. I would like some evidence of this because I don't remember doing this as a kid. But I'm a Polak. Maybe we didn't do that. Maybe we're not really white.
Yeah. But one thing I really need to ask these flat earthers is, do measurements get bigger the further away from the further towards the edge of the disk. Because if the North Pole is in the center of the world, and the South Pole and Antarctica is on the outskirts, the closer to Antarctica you get, do your millimeters and inches, do they start to get bigger as well? And do you grow as well? Because in theory, the space would get bigger towards the edges. So do you grow with it? Because you don't see that space.
No, it doesn't grow because, of the giant turtle we're on the back of.
Yeah.
What's below the turtle? It's turtle all the way down, friend. All the way down.
Flat earthers, right? I've seen different examples of what they think the flat earth looks like. And that's where it's bullshit because they have different ideas of what the flat earth is. Like I was saying, this one person thinks we're in a giant glass bubble. This other person thinks it's a giant ice wall. This other person thinks it's just flat, like just completely flat. Some people think it's like a little disc. And I'm going to backtrack a little bit to the moon. One interesting thing was people talking about the past, right? Oh, yeah, we couldn't have done that back then. We couldn't have done that. Well, so in 1969, Nixon called the moon, right? He called the astronauts on the moon. Now, people's reasoning today is, what? I lose signal when I'm going under a bridge. How did we call the moon back in 1969? Radio waves, right? Radio waves travel 300,000 kilometers per second. How far is the moon? I'm pretty sure it's around 380 something thousand kilometers.
It's about a 3-second delay.
It's almost there. Yeah, exactly. And the responses were not instantaneous either. And it's crazy how it was done. So they routed it from Houston, from the White House to Houston, and went from manned space flight satellite dishes all around the world, shot to the lunar module, and then hopped to its final destination, little antennas on the back of their spacesuits. It's amazing. And do you know why? Because they invested $118 billion into all the Apollo missions. So of course they'd be able to do something like that. It's radio waves. And we didn't exactly have, like little telephone towers everywhere, and that's why we lose signal today. Another thing is people are trying to put Earth logic onto the moon. That flag looks like it's waving. There's no air friction or resistance on the fucking moon.
It's on a wire, dude. They put it on a wire. That you don't realize they put it on a wire. Okay, sorry.
Those government scientists, man, can't trust them because you're paid by the government. Government's after you. The government's not even, when you say the government, there's different things that make up the government in different parts. And it's not like the government's all friendly with each other either. Well, FBI and CIA, they're different.
Yeah, well, I've got arguments.
Go ahead, Mr. Kirk.
Yeah, there's other arguments like the shadows, like on the ground from the suits and things. Saying, there's no atmosphere,
really funny.
So they should be darker or they should be lighter or whatever.
You have the sun, right? Number one, you have the sun. You have the light reflecting off the Earth. You have the light reflecting off the ground. You have the light reflecting off the spacesuits, the cameras, and the lunar module.
Yeah.
How do you think that the shadows aren't gonna look weird? It's not like, oh yeah, the sun's right there. So these shadows all have to go that direction. No, there's light bouncing.
There's no air, so there shouldn't be refraction. So the shadows should be perfectly crisp, and there should be utter darkness in their shadows. But we can see stuff, so it's not real.
Why aren't there any stars? Because those stars don't have enough exposure for those cameras, especially when there's a daylit lunar surface, because there's something called light pollution. Also, I can go outside right now with my phone, and I bet you I will not capture any stars because it's fucking hard to capture stars in photos.
Yeah.
Oh man, these silly people. Okay, yeah, I'm done with all my rants on.
Well, just to sum it up real quick, the reason why people get into these big conspiracies is because it's comforting. If you believe the big conspiracy that humanity is a great and wonderful place We're all wonderful people, but it is the big evil that if we just found the right face to punch, we could restore humanity to its rightful place as awesomeness. When the fact of the matter is that there isn't a big, huge conspiracy keeping us down. We just kind of, are lazy. We're not being pushed under the water. We're just letting ourselves slide down. But if you believe in the great big evil, you can say, oh, wow, humanity would be great if we just punch the right face. And you're saying it's comforting. It's comforting to know that there is a way to control your future. You can't control your future, but it's out there. There is a possibility. It's very hopeful. All of these conspiracy theorists, even though they might be sad or scared or whatever, in the end, they're all very, very hopeful people because they believe if we just punch the right face. Sorry. No. Even if you found the right face and you punched it, there's no great conspiracy. It's about 1 million tiny little conspiracies where everybody's being just a little bit selfish, and that's why humanity kind of sliding towards, blech. We're not great. We're mediocre because we don't put forth the effort. That's the problem. Anyway.
Or like this guy said, it's because they think they are the only one that's asking the real questions, that dares to ask the questions nobody else will. So they feel they feel like they're higher beings or something along those lines.
Oh yeah. At any rate,
the next step in human evolution.
Well, I'm pretty sure that we probably have two guys who are probably not quite as intelligent as the Flat Earthers as we move on to men accused of robbing bar during police party. In Baltimore, the police response time was quicker than ever, as 2 men were arrested after police say they robbed a bar outside of Baltimore while off-duty officers were there for a police retirement party.
Oh, man.
It's like something you'd expect in a police academy film.
Sean and Tyree McCoy face robbery, theft, and various other charges. As I imagine they walked in and said, nobody move, this is a stick-up. And then probably no less than 40 guns were pointed in their face all at once. Meanwhile, David Naral was the guy who was retiring, and he'd been with the department since 1988. So I just thought we should mention these guys and give them a slow clap.
I mean, look at the name of the pub, Monaghan's Pub or Monaghan's Pub, depending on how it's pronounced. It's an Irish bar.
Oh, yeah.
It's bound to be.
Yeah. What were you thinking about? What are you thinking? Oh, God. Well, any comments? Moving on to the other funny news is...
No. No comments here.
New Jersey funeral worker charged in sidewalk casket case. Formerly New Jersey funeral home worker has been charged with abuse of a corpse while allegedly leaving a casket on a Philadelphia sidewalk that contained the embalmed organs of an infant.
Oh.
Yep. There was a problem, so the casket became damaged, so the baby's body was transferred to a new casket, but he forgot the organs and left it in the old one that he just kind of said, I'm sure it'll get picked up by the sanitation department and left to court, in a box sitting there.
That's so bad.
But the problem is that when he found that... I'm sorry, I screwed this up a little bit. There's a step I need to mention. He took the damaged casket home. And days later he said, ew, I forgot about these organs in this box. And was going to try to keep them in his home for a while until he could figure out how to get it to work. But when his sister, who lived there, objected to keeping baby's organs in the freezer, apparently, or something like that, he just said, okay, well, I just drove out and dropped it on a curb somewhere. And I was hoping it'd just go away. Just ignore the problem. Send me to heaven in a glad bag. Don't waste no coffin on me bones. Just leave me on the curb next Tuesday and let the sanitation department bring me home. I love that song.
Is there anything about Florida Man? Has Florida Man done anything lately?
I've actually been trying to find Florida Man, and Florida Man has been not doing much of anything interesting lately. I mean, nothing that I thought was really standoutish.
That's odd for Florida Man. Just don't like him. Don't like him.
Well, I think he's trying to save the world, and he's taking some time off. It's kind of stressful.
He might be, he might be doing some hero work in Houston.
However,
like Jake Paul.
However, maybe things are bothering you. Maybe you're feeling kind of stressed out about things. Well, don't worry about it, because a giant puppet is taking on the worries stuffed into his gloom box. I don't know if you've seen the picture of this giant puppet, but that is a scary, scary motherfucker. It looks like a giant. It looks like one of those vampire creatures that all those black supremacists are afraid of, man. It's got the sunken eyes and the big switchblade ears. But in Santa Fe, New Mexico, high anxiety about White House politics, hurricane flooding, and even the threat of nuclear war with North Korea is adding to an extra spark at the annual burning of a giant ghostly marionette that serves as an effigy of doom and gloom.
It reminds me of old leaders that go to that the getaway, and then they go and burn down that giant
Burning Man. Are you talking about Burning Man?
No, I'm talking. Have you guys ever?
Oh wait,
that
the one
place?
in. Oh God, I know what you're talking about. The Bilderberg.
Is that what it's called? Where all those really high officials go for one weekend and then they burn down this giant effigy?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Bilderberg people. They're pretty weird. They are really strange. But yeah, the Bilderbergs. Yeah, basically it's a bunch of incredibly rich people get together and nobody knows what they talk about. But I always kind of think that it's just a big raucous party. Because I wouldn't trust anybody there if I was incredibly rich. You know, I wouldn't make any deals.
Yeah, the press there are completely banned, but Tim Pool did interview someone who attended, and although you have to sign a gagging order to see that you can't discuss what's said in there, but he did say it was pretty boring.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, because there was some footage taken there back in, I think, 2002, where everyone was dressed in robes and they're burning this thing down. They're all screaming, and presidents of the United States have gone there in the past. I'm pretty the Queen went there once. It's just meant to be all guys, right? But yeah, the Queen went out there once too. Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they like to point to it for a big, huge conspiracy, but I also point to human nature and how humans do not work well together when you're an alpha. Alphas do not work well with other alphas. They do not. They might make some contacts, but all you're doing is different people are going to team up with different people to beat the crap out of different people.
That is one scary puppet.
Yeah, I just got to go with that is one scary ass puppet. And they make its arms move and groan as they play music for several hours before they set it on fire. But it's got like stuff like please get rid of Donald Trump and all sorts of stuff in there. And it's like, wow, if you actually need this puppet to get over your problems, you need more than just a giant burning puppet. But yeah, I'd set that thing on fire. I would kill it with fire. That whatever that is, it needs to die with fire. That is nightmare fuel right there.
I want to talk about the 2 killed as mountain of garbage collapses in New Delhi.
All right, let me skip ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna be heading off, you guys, in around like 4 minutes. It's almost 12:40 for me.
Right.
Dang, I can't find it.
You can't find it? It's
no.
It's right at the bottom. Right at the bottom. 2 killed. That's what pops up.
Yeah, I've got it up myself.
Okay, I'm going to have to open it in a different window. I can't get it into that window. But okay, I've got it. 2 killed as mountain of garbage collapses in New Delhi. At least 2 people were killed when part of a huge mountain of garbage came crashing down in a landfill on the eastern outskirts of an Indian capital on Friday. Police officer Omiv Singh said the falling garbage pushed several vehicles into a nearby canal. He said 5 people were rescued and 2 died. Police brought in large cranes to clear the trash as they launched a rescue operation. Heavy rains are believed to have caused the landfill to collapse. Holy crap. In more than one way. 2,800 tons of garbage are dumped on the site every day. This thing is huge. Ever see, what was it, Idiocracy? There's this one scene where they just have mountains and mountains of garbage and then it all collapses. I imagine it's something like that. Yeah. What were you doing there to get killed by 1,000,000 tons of garbage is what I'm wondering. Like, are there like professional scavengers or something?
Quite possibly, and no doubt they have no health and safety regulations at all.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh, I managed to get it to pop up in the window. Cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of a sign of the times, you know? But, and they worry about the environment here in America. I don't think you need to. I mean, America might have some issues, but I don't think we really need to tighten up our environment anymore. I think we need to start looking at bigger problems like, I don't know, millions of tons of garbage like killing people because it rained too much.
Yeah.
The soon absence of oil. That's a good one.
I'm sorry, what?
The up and coming absence of oil. It is going to be like 50 years, but even then, 50 years of oil.
They've been talking about the collapse of oil for a long time. And the weird thing is, though, we keep developing new ways of getting oil out of the ground. Like the hydrofracking works very well.
Yeah, but this is very bad for the environment and is destroying ecosystems. And of course, we don't care, but honestly, we are, like, the oil is on its last leg, so there's not as much oil as there used to be, because, yeah, they have been talking about it forever, but now more than ever, there's not that much, and we have to go into more dangerous parts of the world to get this oil, and oil prices are going to go up, this and that. Honestly, at this point, I'm surprised that somebody hasn't just, made it so we can put water instead of, gas and have our cars run on it.
Oh, I mean, you can if you do the hydro batteries, or you put the electricity in to separate the oxygen and the hydrogen. I've seen those engines. It works. I actually like India. They came up with a great design that I think was pretty interesting. They built a car that runs on compressed air. You fill up the tanks with compressed air, and it doesn't drive more than 50 miles on a fill up, but it runs pretty good. And because what does the compressed air do? It pushes, and it's pretty simple. All you need to do is have a means of storing energy. The advantage of gasoline is that it is a lot of energy. It's very inefficient, but it's a lot of energy. There are few ways to store that much energy in such a small area. That's why diesel will probably be around for another 100 years, just because it works. But, eventually it is going to run out. We're gonna find ways of squeezing more and more. But the fact of the matter is we need oil more for the petroleum products than for the gasoline.
Yeah,
we shouldn't. Plastics are much more important to us than any amount of fuel. We can make energy storage, but we can't make more plastics easily. That's the crazy part. So, anyway, you need to get going?
Yeah, I do. Okay. Thank you very much, you guys, for this. I'm going to go and head off.
No problem. It's getting late here. Do you need to get going, Mr. Gurr, or do you want to wrap things up real quick here?
I'm easy either way. I'm not tired yet.
Okay. I'm going to save Harvey for last, actually.
Right.
Okay. Have a good one, you guys.
Right,
You
take
too.
care.
Let's get with some of the more silly stuff. Regressive left goes even more insane at Berkeley. I'm going to sum it up for you. The left have taken to eating flyers, taking the paper, crumpling them up, and actually eating and swallowing them as a means of protest.
Wow.
I don't think there needs to be anything else said on that.
Yeah, I did hear something about a book that someone wrote that some feminists disagreed with. So she's making it as an art project by eating a page a day
What is wrong?
and filming it.
It's all this postmodernist BS. Postmodernism just makes you ugly. It does. It
Yeah.
does. It's just ugly. And they act like children. I love this picture here of the baby eating this book. That's if you're eating a flyer, this is you. This is you.
Yeah.
Except you're not that cute. This I'd love to hear. And I have never heard of this happening. This is the first time I've heard of a president doing it. But Donald Trump donated $1 million to the Harvey storm relief efforts. And my response about that is, he coughed up $1 million. How about all you lousy leftist Democrats out there? How much you coughing up? Because historically speaking, Republicans donate far more money than any Democrat. Democrat, for all their talks about wanting to help people, they don't put their money where their mouth is. They're really cheap. And I'm hoping that this shames them into donating money. Okay, so if you don't like Donald Trump, he donated $1 million. What are you doing? Okay, this guy...
They will still spin it. They'll say, oh, he's a billionaire. He can afford more than that. He should give more.
Yeah.
That's how they'll spin it.
Yeah, well, okay, when you donate $1 million, you can complain. And here's the part that really you need to remember. Houston's the primary affected area under Harvey, and they're mostly Democrats. It's a Democratic city.
Yeah.
He's donating money to Democrats. Which, by the way, did you see the Charlie Hebdo comic?
Yes, I did.
I don't want to even put it on here because if I do, it's going to get demonetized instantly. Yeah, wow, when everybody rushed to your defense, you're like, hey, thanks, and you're the first to condemn anybody else. So, you know what? You got the right to say whatever you want, but you're still a bunch of assholes.
Well, the difference between the Muhammad cartoon and that is that the Muhammad cartoon was a joke. It was...
Muhammad's dead. Muhammad's
Yeah.
dead, so you're mocking a dead guy. Now you're mocking somebody who died very recently and has grieving, living relatives, you insensitive pricks.
But not only that, that they are accusing them all of being Nazis as well, which is also extremely untrue.
Well, no, I mean, I consider most Democrats to be pretty close to Nazis, and they're a bunch of racists and fascists, but I can see why they're thinking Democrats, but they're not claiming it's Democrats. They think that they're all Republicans. The Republicans are fine. The Republicans got their ass out of there. The Republicans are the ones who are volunteering their services, driving their trucks, their tree-moving services, and all this other free stuff in there first. The government did prepare ahead of time, but it's the private sector that's been stepping up in the first few days.
Yeah, beer companies canning water, send over there. People lining up to volunteer.
Yeah, and that's because people like being heroes. They do. They like being heroes for a short period of time. They don't want to do it forever, but, people look forward to the opportunity to go and do something heroic. If it's relatively safe, but, they want to.
That's true.
But
have you heard about Linda Sarsour?
Oh yeah,
she's been scam.
Yeah, she's been using the whole Harvey thing to basically get money in her coffers.
Yeah.
What a
people that donate to the thing that she advertised is actually going to something completely different.
I'm sure in the fine print it'll say that they deserve the right to redirect the money as they see fit. So, But that said, it's deceptive. I understand. I mean, if you trusted her, why did you trust her? Why? What? You're dealing with somebody who's a postmodernist who doesn't believe in truth, who believes all morality is relativism, that there's no objective reality, only your subjective truth, and then you wonder why she's a lying, cheating, untrustworthy scumbag.
Yeah.
If somebody is a postmodernist liberal, they're a scumbag. I'm sorry, but if you accept that philosophy, you accept the philosophy of being an untrustworthy, dishonorable, lying lout. You're deceptive. You just are. Sorry.
Yeah, I want to see how she's treated by these feminists now, or in the next few weeks, or the next rally.
Yeah,
if she's still going to be their guy.
I'm not sure. I think she's slowly. I think the whole thing is falling apart. And the problem, my fear is, I want it to be a nice soft landing. I have a feeling it's not going to be. Because I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of because all of these people who are supporting the left right now, when they realize they've been lied to, that they've been scammed, that they are on the wrong side of history, they're going to switch over to being conservative, but they're going to keep doing the exact same stupid shit. And they're just going to do the same stupid shit they're doing now, except they're going to do it for conservatism.
Yeah.
I mean, no, you need to start thinking for yourself, not trying to find a new master. But I don't know how that's going to turn out. Speaking of...
Yeah, I think...
Oh, no, go ahead.
There will be someone either conservative or at least posing as a conservative to cash in on when the tide changes.
Yeah.
Basically do the same thing as Linda Sarsour and Anita Sarkeesian and all those other miscreants, and try to make money through more conservative seeming endeavors.
Well, I mean, it's already happening to a degree. That's what the alt-right is. The true diehard, truly racist right-wingers. The ones in charge are there for the money. As soon as the money runs out, they're gone. Then there's the people who drank the Kool-Aid who are going to be left, hanging in the wind. And then there's like this group and this is how it works with all radical groups. Then there's this layer on the outside of people who are kind of sympathetic.
Yeah,
who don't really understand it.
I've heard. I didn't get the whole story, to be honest, so I don't know all of it. But the person that apparently organised the Unite the Right rally used to work for CNN and was a Democrat.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I keep telling people, and they don't believe it, but if you want to look at the racists, it's the Democrats. The Democrats are the racists. Because what is racism? Racism is the excuse. It's not the end goal. It's the excuse. If you are manipulating prejudice to create power, that's racism. And the Democrats manipulate prejudice to get power. They're the racists. That's the equation. If you're
another thing that makes me think about the Charlottesville thing, the guy holding the swastika flag that was shown everywhere, yeah, between the people with the what do you call it, the other flag,
the Confederate.
Yeah, the Confederate flag. So, as we know, 4chan and places like that can identify a person within days, right?
Oh, yeah. 4chan poll, love these guys.
Yeah. But why has no one tried to find out who he is? The guy holding the swastika flag. The fresh out of the packet with still all the creases from where it's been folded, so it's been bought recently, yet no one's asked who he is.
Oh, I mean, it's quite obvious to me that the whole Charlotte thing was partially staged. I mean, at least, I don't think it was staged so much as I think that people were sent in to stir things up more than normal. And it got so far out of hand and somebody died. And then I think that a whole bunch of people in like the media said, whoa, 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 whoa. Nobody was supposed to get run over by a car. And I think there were a lot of people who were behind this whole thing who stopped doing the instigation because they realized, holy crap, if anybody finds out what I've been doing, I can get the shit suit out of me for causing a riot that resulted in somebody getting run over. Anybody who went there with the intention of causing trouble could be sued in regards to those deaths. That death from getting run over by the car. All those injuries, you can get sued. Okay? And I think that's why there was nobody in Boston. The media all said, oh yeah, all these right-wingers. Wait a minute, nobody showed up who was actually a Nazi or a racist. It was some guy named, I forget what his name was, but it was like the sheep. I don't know. He's running for senator, and it's some Indian guy. I mean, when you look at him, he looks like a Pooh from Squishy Mart. Please, goodness gracious me, please do not be punching me in the face. I mean, this guy is supposed to be a Nazi. And when you talk to his opponent who's running against him, the senator called him a Nazi. And it's like, do you know who was there? Do you actually know what was going on? And then Berkeley rolls around, and suddenly there's nobody else on the right-wing side. Yeah. But Antifa is there, and they beat the crap out of about a dozen people.
The thing with the Boston one, the narrative was already there that, there's Nazis here, there's right-wing ethno-state white supremacists. But the mayor, it was too late to go back on the narrative that, they're just wanting free speech. So they still had that heavy police presence and the big gap between the protesters and the actual rally. So it was good in that sense.
Yeah, but isn't it...
the cops did the job at least.
Well, I want to go with the... I don't have any proof to it, but I want to just say it's a little weird that we have the big rally of, right versus left. But since then, we haven't had any big right-wing presence. And I'm beginning to wonder if that one death caused all of the people they're hiring to go, whoa, I am not getting involved with this. I'm just here for the money, and I'm not going to get sued. And since they're having a hard time finding crazy people to go out and be crazy on the right isn't actually as strong as we thought they were. There aren't as many crazy right-wing, alt-right protester racist assholes out there as we thought. I think a lot of them were probably fake. And since they've now realized, whoa, if I go out there and cause trouble, I might lose everything. They're not going anymore. And without them there, these rallies have become a lot more one-sided, with Antifa being just flat out uncontrolled. I mean, the police really need to start upping their game, especially since
they've opened Pandora's box. Basically, they've said, there's these really evil right-wing people here. We need a left-wing army to go and stop them and kick their asses. And then a lot of people are going, right, we can go out and have a fight and burn shit. I'm up for that.
Yeah, But as soon as stuff got real, it looks like this whole thing dried up. I'm wondering how the next two rallies are going to be. I'm really wondering about this. Like the next rally or two, if it continues like this, where Antifa shows up in force, but there's nobody on the right, I'm wondering if there was a lot more paid protesters being sent in than we thought. At any rate, well, let's wrap this up real quick because we're getting to 2 a.m. World's highest sandcastle built in German city. I don't really think it's that impressive. I mean, it's a giant pile of sand with all sorts of things on it.
It's big, but not somehow. Yeah.
I just like the metaphor that, Berlin is building things on sand lately. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this mammoth sandcastle really is... I think it is a perfect metaphor for what's going on in Germany.
Yeah, I was just about to say, as far as metaphors go, that's right on the nose, really.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to... God, I can't believe that they did the thing with the immigration. It's crazy. Anyway, we did kind of talk about Harvey, and I'm going to go with, if you can send help, do so. It still sucks down there.
Beware where you're putting the money.
Yeah, always.
Make sure it's a reputable source.
Yeah. Be very careful about who you give money to, because there's already scam artists out there.
Yeah, not the Red Cross.
Yeah. Although I just have to say this. When a hurricane runs over you, stops, and backs up to run over you a second time, nature hates you. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Last but not least, I want to go into the whole North Korea thing. I mean, you heard about earlier, North Korea fired a missile over Japan.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that's going to backfire. Because Japan, for the longest time, has been really anti-building up its weapons. Because, honestly, America protects them. And, why should Japan, pay for defense when somebody else will pay the budget for them? But I got a feeling that, especially since there's a lot of attack on masculinity in Japan, that if there is anybody out there who thinks that they can use this to start to promote more militarism in Japan, they're going to. Because that's just the way I kind of see it is. Japan has kind of been having this breaking moment soon. Kind of like how the rest of the world is starting to break on the whole feminism, social justice warrior, Black Lives Matter, left-wing nut jobberies finally coming to an end. It's sort of the same thing in Japan, too, and I have a feeling you're going to see a huge backlash. I think you're about to see, like, the rise of militant males in Japan again. So, I got no proof of that. It's just a feeling, but it wouldn't surprise me. Any comments?
Could be a thing, yeah, because, what is it, the herbivore male? What's it called there?
Yeah, the herbivore male.
It's
creating a huge problem. Women are very desperate.
Yeah.
Like, they got a population replacement rate of like 1.25.
So, if they do get some sort of threat of war, and more of those herbivore males do end up joining the military instead, then they're going to be even more in demand.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
They're going to come home. Yeah, they're going to be coming home, and women are just going to be throwing themselves at them and going to go, fine, let's do this. But the same thing is happening in the West now. I saw an article about some 4 or 5 women, either divorced or never married, all in their 40s, and they're saying, where have all the good men gone? And it's because most men in the 40s are already settled down.
Yeah,
or they can get better women than them.
Well, why did you think they'd wait for you? The women are getting pregnant in at 30. 30 is average in America now. And men at about the same time. And it's like you're going, that's your first child on average? That's a bad idea. If you're going to have kids, have it a lot younger when your body's healthy enough to take the punishment. But I don't know. I mean, this is going to go on another. We're just now peaking. I think 2018 is going to see the start of the turnaround, and it's going to crash quickly. And then I don't know how that's going to turn out, though. This could go so wrong so easily. But I'm crossing my fingers and hoping for the best. Anyway, anything else you wanted to bring up?
No, nothing else from me.
I'm going to go back and listen to the video and see how everything worked out. But I'm liking the new format. I'm liking the way it's looking here.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to work better in the long run. And, it's been real. And it's been fun. It's been a bit more fun this week than last week. So I'm thinking things are starting to look up. So hopefully the trend will continue and we won't all disappear in a ball of nuclear fire. Or if we're lucky, it'll only be the West Coast liberals. At any rate, thanks for your time, and I hope everybody has a pleasant day.
All right, good night, everyone.